Welcome to another edition of the brand called You. Today I have a very, very accomplished healer, if I can use the term, Dr. Vasudha Sharma with me. Dr. Sharma is the co-founder of the Vivekananda Health Global, an international brand of integrative medicine-based centers where Ayurveda, Yoga, and Naturopathy are used synergistically for best treatment outcomes. She's an expert in Ayurveda and in Yoga Therapy and has over 20 years of experience. And she's done a Ph.D. in integrating Ayurveda and Yoga in managing migraine headaches. In her own words, Vasudha wants to take the traditional healing methods to everyone's doorstep with an evidence-based approach. Vasudha, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Ashutosh ji. Namaste.
Namaste. Tell me, we're going to talk a lot about all the things that you're doing in Ayurveda and Yoga. But before I start that, tell me a little bit about what you would say are the three key milestones in your life or career.
Yeah, I think that's a very nice question to begin with, Ashutosh ji. First of all, thank you for having me on your show. Milestones are always essential for, people to grow. So I would say the first milestone with respect to my career was to enter into a structured business operations, especially with respect to Ayurveda, by establishing my own Ayush therapy center. I was a franchisee and it's a Hindustan Unilever's brand. And the second one was to establish Vivekananda Health Global as a brand on its own, and where we brought in this concept of integrative medicine, bringing together Ayurveda, Yoga, and Naturopathy. And of course, during this course, I always was thinking, how do I contribute more to this scientific world of Ayurveda, Yoga, and Naturopathy? Right. And that's where I thought of doing a PhD. And that was one of the milestone, and that is the third milestone if I have to put it across. And this helped me reach larger audience, national and international, and because of which I'm here today and chosen as the chair of complementary and integrative medicine wing of the Asia Pacific Headache Society.
Wow. Okay. So let's move straight to your PhD topic. On how to manage migraines. Tell me a little bit about what your hypothesis was.
Yeah. Well, of course, the challenge was to take up a full-fledged PhD, also balancing family, clinical practice and leading a company too. But in my clinical practice, I have always been coming across pain management, participants for pain management. And this is where I also understood that migraine was one such topic which needed to be researched, and, the documentation was more essential when we wanted to bring in the traditional Panchakarma and yoga therapy. And since the interest was always in integration, the title of my PhD was to integrate Ayurveda and yoga therapy for the management of migraine without aura. So basically it was a 90-day study where we assessed the subjects on day 1, day 30 and day 90. And the results were actually very, very significant and very motivating. So here, I found that there was significant reduction in the pain intensity, frequency of migraine, the duration of attack. Then there were other physiological variables which were studied, like the heart rate variability, the electromyography. And we found that the sympathetic arousal before treatment actually shifted towards the parasympathetic dominance. It means that the relaxation quotient was much more better after our intervention of Ayurveda Panchakarma, followed by therapeutic yoga or yoga therapy. And different other disability scales like migraine related disability was assessed, and there was a very significant change. Quality of life was assessed using a comprehensive headache questionnaire, and that also showed improvement in quality of life. So this is in gist about the results, especially of the PhD work.
So you just referred to something called Ayurveda Panchakarma. For all our viewers and listeners, tell me a little bit about what is Ayurveda Panchakarma.
See, Panchakarma is one of the foremost procedures mentioned in Ayurveda classics, and they are the 5 essential, therapies which are administered for cleansing. So this is where we have the Vamana, the induced vomiting, Virechana, the induced purgation, Basti, which is an enema kind of procedure where there is rectal route of administering medication, Nasya, which is a nasal route of instilling medication, and Rakta Mokshana, which have different types of bloodletting therapies. So these 5 put together are called Pancha, which is 5, Karma, which are called the procedures. And these are highly recommended in Ayurveda when we treat different types of cases.
Okay. Very interesting. So, you've done so much research on yoga and Ayurveda and naturopathy. Yoga is getting accepted all over the world. Ayurveda is beginning to get accepted in many, many parts of the country.
Right.
How important is yoga and Ayurveda for the world?
Yeah, well, my knowledge to naturopathy research is very limited. I am not a researcher in the field of naturopathy, but yes, I practice and use naturopathy in my clinical practice. But yoga, essentially, as you were rightly saying, Ashutosh ji, has got wide acceptance across the world. So I would probably highlight, few of the reasons here. So where basically yoga is time tested, most ancient, comprehensive mind-body approach, people have understood how they can actually balance the mind-body and also move towards a healthy lifestyle.
Correct.
So that is one of the primary reasons. Yoga is easy to follow. There are a lot of variants, and different age groups have got different solutions there. And yoga not only adheres to a particular religion, there's no belief system or community, which is a key actually for people to follow yoga. And programs and decisions taken by the government, like the International Day of Yoga, has also added to its popularity.
Correct. Okay. So let's talk then Ayurveda. You've done so much work on Ayurveda.
Correct.
I've often heard that Ayurveda is a very, very ancient science that has come down over the years.
Correct.
What will be involved in really being able to translate all the learnings of thousands of years into treatments today?
Right, yeah. So, see, Ayurveda has been well explained right from Atharva Veda, because Ayurveda is said to be a Upaveda or a supplementary to Atharva Veda. Then on, we have classics of Ayurveda such as Charaka, Sushruta Samhita, which have elaborated. This is where the ancient knowledge is derived from. So in present day scenario, the significance is because we have so many non-communicable diseases in race, chronic diseases and conditions in race, say such as cancer. So we are looking forward towards reversal, better diet and lifestyle to see that people stay healthy. So Ayurveda can work at the preventive level, it can work at the management of diseases, it can work at rehabilitation, because it has reduced side effects and long-term benefits, and also quite cost effective.
That's true. And yet, Dr. Sharma, there is a constant questioning of the process of healing of Ayurveda, not in India, but around the world. What can be done to correct this?
Okay, and a very interesting question for the audience, I suppose. So there we have these questions even in the clinic. Being a doctor and a physician, basically I too acquaint these questions. So I would say my perspective is there is a gap between traditional and modern understanding. So people want to know everything the modern way, which may not be feasible. But yes, large attempts, I should say great attempts have been made into research of Ayurveda to bring in this scientific component for people to understand. But still, not everything can be explained. It is like you show me electricity. Electricity is not, something which you can perceive and touch. Similarly, are many concepts. So these concepts such as Tridoshas are so beautifully explained in Ayurveda. So I feel people need to understand more, interact more, and reduce their ignorance towards the science. And this will actually help Ayurveda evolve better for their own benefit. Otherwise, Ayurveda is available. So if I can just give you an example, the definition of health in Ayurveda is so elaborate. It says samadosha, samagnischa, samadhatu, malakriyaha. That means to say samadosha, balance of the doshas, samadhatu, which is balance of the tissues, malakriyaha, the balance, the level of the excretory mechanisms, And this definition is added on beautifully with prasanna atmendriya manaha swastha ityavidhiyate. That means you also need to have a prasanna atma, that is a soul, a happy soul, mana, which is mind, and this is the definition of a swastha or a healthy individual.
I see. And if even one of them is not okay, that means you are aswastha.
So this is saying, this is so broad, so you can always understand that it's just not about feeling fit, physically fit, but you need to have a very pleasant mind, and therefore the mind-body component is so clear here.
Very interesting. Thank you for sharing this. I mean, I didn't know this.
Yeah.
So,
my pleasure. Please.
Thank you. So when I was reading about you, you said that the treatment using only Ayurveda is different in your center, which is the Vivekananda Health Global. How is it different?
See, at Vivekananda Health Global, we have Ayurveda, Yoga, and Naturopathy under one roof. But this doesn't mean that when a participant, so we call a patient a participant to keep them away of the field of sickness. So when a participant visits a center, so we would not say, okay, you want Ayurveda, so we have Ayurveda. You want yoga, so we have yoga. So this is not that methodology. It's basically a physician's assessment, which would bring in the synergistic combination. So if we take a case of, say, obesity, now Ayurveda Panchakarma or a naturopathy detox will be planned based on the participant's signs and symptoms. And then you have yoga therapy, and then so on and so forth, some other methodologies. So basically, the major difference is we bring in this concept of integration. That is what is termed as integrative medicine, using these three traditional systems of healing. That's the major difference.
Very interesting. Very interesting. And when people come to your center, do they have a choice of selecting one of the three, or is it something that is determined by the people who will provide the treatment?
Yeah, correct. So that is what I was trying to say. So it is not by choice, neither the choice of the doctor, if the doctor has some inclination towards Ayurveda, neither the choice of the participant or the patient, because we would try and explain to them, so why this combination is being offered to you. So you have an X problem, you have maybe an obesity history or a hypothyroidism history. So for this, you need to undergo a Panchakarma therapy, you have to undergo a yoga therapy, take Ayurveda oral medications, and slowly work on diet and lifestyle to correct your metabolic dysfunction. So this is how the advice would go.
Okay. So, moving on, one of the reasons the modern medicine has succeeded so much is because of a collaboration that has taken place between the manufacturers and the research institutions.
Right.
I was speaking to some other people on Ayurveda, and somehow that collaboration doesn't exist between the Ayurvedic knowledge and the people who go and commercialize it.
Correct.
I mean, if it's happening on a very small scale.
Yeah, true.
What are your views, and how can this be expedited?
See, as you rightly said, it is happening, but I think now it is emerging also. So the trend is definitely scaling up. So the connection of the academia, the industry, the practitioners, these are very crucial for the science to grow. But it is essential for us to work on it and parallelly have our connects very strong, because this will help Ayurveda evolve as globally. Globally, as we say, the research has to be complemented and practiced by the practitioners or the clinicians, and pharma has to support, basically to see that the research is much more aided, so that once the research is aided, so people have the opportunity to scale up the research. So there is money being brought in, so which also helps. Otherwise, you're completely dependent on government bodies, on other private bodies which might fund you. But if we have our own network, it becomes easier because each one understands each other's requirement much better. Correct. So we look forward to this emerging process and see that it happens and grows to the level of the conventional medicine.
Wonderful. So I was reading a news item recently about the role Ayurveda and yoga can play in handling the pandemic that the whole world is faced with.
correct.
What are your thoughts on this?
My thoughts would be as any other physician. So Ayurveda has explained the concept of a pandemic and epidemic in a term called Janapadodhamsa. So Jana is population, Udhamsa is destruction. So this has been explained, say, 5,000 years ago, so elaborately by Charaka, Acharya Charaka in Charaka Samhita, where the cause and management has been elaborated. So we, based on this, understand that it has been already documented. So we need to understand, and there have been times, many times in, say, the last thousands of years, where people have faced problem like what we are right now. So based on these principles, presently, for the present pandemic, so we can categorize, say, an unexposed asymptomatic person can be educated on healthy diet, lifestyle, like adequate sleep, maybe physical activity, follow good conduct. And there are preventive therapies, like I spoke about Nasya in the Panchakarma, then gargling, steam inhalation. So all these things have to be brought into practice. So the next category will be an exposed asymptomatic individual who might be given some medication, and he also needs to follow yoga. So therefore, you have mild, moderate people with COVID-19 symptoms. They have to be handled accordingly by physicians. But why do we need Ayurveda with yoga? So this also is a very interesting topic for people to understand. Now, Ayurveda is working at the physical level. So we spoke about different therapies, which are the options. And yoga is going to work at the mind level. So it is going to help the mind become strong, because anxiety, fear, as you know, is also playing a great role in people's mind nowadays. So many of them are so scared that they don't want to step out of the house, or they are quite secluded indoors. So I have really experienced this when we have spoken to a few individuals. Right. So doing yoga will not only strengthen their immune system, but also strengthen their mind, because they have to tackle the fear and anxiety, which is going to play a role. Not only this, there are different studies which have also shown how it can play a role in management of infectious diseases. Studies have been done on, say, tuberculosis. And here we have also found that the viral load is much lesser when you adapt these systems.
Okay. Very interesting.
Yeah.
So one more question for you before I move to some questions for you personally.
Yeah.
This is the age of the millennials and the Gen Zs and, everyone who's very young. How is this new generation of individuals accepting and adapting to Ayurveda?
No, I should say it's very, very favorable. Generation X is accepting it very well. Okay. And what is crucial here is they have to understand the science behind Ayurveda, then they definitely explore it. So they are, kind of coming back to their roots. Okay. It is, as you see, people are moving from, say, synthetic fabrics to natural fabrics, moving, say, from green revolution to an organic or natural farming. Similarly, they're also understanding how natural herbs can heal them better and not impact their health because of heavy drugging.
Okay, very interesting. So I'm going to ask you a few questions personally.
Oh yeah, sure.
Vasudha, my first question to you is, what does success mean to you?
Okay, yeah, an interesting one. So Ashutosh ji, success, according to me, is feeling contented. So I feel I'm successful because I have achieved what I dreamt maybe when I was in class 7 itself, where I wanted to become a doctor. So that was always ringing. And then I went on to become a successful physician, and I'm still very passionate about the same. Then, of course, having someone I thought as my life partner and a sweet family and a dear son. So all this is something very, very important in life. I'm an entrepreneur, but the success of my business can't be measured, with respect to an annual turnover which my business is making, but it's based on the value the business is adding into the healthcare delivery. So these are the points, be it personal, professional, which actually I can sum up and say that this is what success means to me.
And therefore, the follow-up question to that would be, you're a successful physician, achieved so much. So at such a young age, where do you draw your inspiration from?
Yeah, I mean, thank you for saying that I've achieved a lot in young age. But yes, I think we are also going close towards, to the 50 mark, which is also essential for us to understand. So, see, my inspiration is mostly from people around me. But first of all, I would put in the principles of Swami Vivekananda, and I definitely look at him as one of the primary inspiration. But people around me are those who inspire me in day-to-day life. I understand how they tackle challenges in life. It may be a house help, or it may be a business tycoon whom I would be observing, say like Mr. Ratan Tata, and how better I am with respect to understanding these, and can I really understand what I am lacking, what the other person is good at. So that is where I would draw inspiration, and also improve upon myself. Just to add, my husband also has been a great inspiration, because he's been a big support in the whole journey.
Wonderful, wonderful. So my next question to you is that if you were a role model to millions of children who closely followed you and your life choices, what is the one thing you would change about yourself?
Okay. I mean, it'll be a great pleasure to see children understanding my life choices. But one change which I would probably look at is because I need to be a little more patient than what I am, is one primary change, because changing is definitely going to help us grow. If not, it brings in a lot of stagnation in life.
Right.
That's the primary aspect.
Terrific. And my last question to you, and this obviously comes back to the pandemic that the whole world is facing. How are you rethinking your life and your business in the new world order?
Yeah, a much needed question, Ashutosh ji. Maybe we'll have to take life as it comes and leads you to strongly thinking too much about future, and go on thinking about the past is not going to help us. So we need to live in the present, strongly move forwards towards what we would like to achieve. Probably a little bit of rethinking for myself, will be to move a little more away from the materialistic world, but still continue with my passion of treating people as a physician, maybe a few years later, not of course immediately. But the thought was not really coming to me earlier, but now I think it's ringing a little more than usual. So with respect to my business, remodeling the service delivery becomes the primary objective. So we cannot always await people to come into our centers to avail therapies, be it an outpatient-based center or an inpatient-based center. But we'll have to enable or integrate technology with traditional sciences, especially with respect to VHG, so that we can cater to larger population and reach out globally.
Wonderful. Dr. Sharma.
On the lighter note, maybe look forward for some investment, looking forward for some people with great experience to join us.
Wonderful. That will be terrific, I'm sure. And I'm a great believer in Ayurveda, because I try all kinds of Ayurvedic products that we have. And when I had founded Guardian Pharmacy, we had a whole host of Ayurvedic products under the Guardian brand also.
Okay, very
so
nice.
I think what you're doing is incredible. And thank you very much. It's been such a pleasure speaking to you. I wish you lots of success, and I wish you heal many, many thousands of people.
Thank you so much, Ashutosh ji, for your wishes. I think it's mostly needed. Thank you.
Thank you again. Thank you. Thank you for listening to the Brand Called You videocast and podcast, a platform that brings you knowledge, experience, and wisdom of hundreds of successful individuals from around the world. Do visit our website www.tbcy.in to watch and listen to the stories of many more individuals. You can also follow us on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Just search for the Brand Called You.